Hello and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel. If you are returning, thank you as always. You mean the world to me. We have some brand new spring DIYs, so let's go ahead and get right on into the crafting. DIY number one. All right, these are signs that I got already carved. I'm going to call them carved because it's lack of a better term, but from the Home Depot. They were on sale for $11.99 each. I grabbed one of each of them. They already have a sawtooth hanger on the back. I thought they were super cute and they're ready to paint, except for some sanding that needs to be done. So they had routed, is that the right word? Out the letters, but there was some leftover little pieces of wood and debris. So I just took my sandpaper, sanded that all down. I was showing you the antique wax by Waverly. You could totally use that, but because I want to stain the wood and then go over the letters with paint, I was afraid that the wax would prevent the paint from adhering properly. So instead, I was showing you my Java chalk paint. It's just a chocolate brown color that I'm using a baby wipe with to use this as a stain. So just applying that to front and back to both sides. Was showing you here my Adirondack white chalk paint by Home Decor, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint in the letters. Now I do have this sped up about 2.5 times, so I am doing my best to just take my time, and I'm using for right now a flat brush. I did end up using a couple of different sized brushes to be able to get into some of the areas that were a little bit tighter with some of the letters. So it takes time. That's really all this was taking my time, going over each of the little exposed wood areas. But let me know what you think. DIY number two. For this project, I have this little metal bucket from my stash. It had held a little orange tree. Now, I live in New Jersey. I don't know what I was thinking I was going to be able to grow a little orange tree, but yeah, and plus I have a black thumb. So anyway, I kept the little bucket and I'm applying some jute cord along the little ribs that are kind of, I'm going to call formed into the bucket. You can kind of see them when the light hits it. But I am using a little bit of hot glue along here just to get this situated because it is tapered down, so I don't want the jute cord to slide down the bucket. Once I have the bottom layer secured, I'm able to just go ahead and continue wrapping it around without worrying about it sliding. And then once I had it wrapped 3 times, I went ahead and secured it at the top with some more hot glue. So just getting myself back around. I had started it and ended it at the seam. Once I was, you know, at this point, I was thinking, I probably should have started it in the middle and then I could have put some sort of a cute little bow on the front of it to disguise the seam that I was creating here. But you could do it either way, whatever makes your heart happy. So now I'm trying to take some masking tape. I wanted to tape off an area of the bucket because I want to create stripes on here. Now again, it's tapered, and so the tape doesn't want to lay flat. And I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to grab some of my rubber bands from my stash. These are a little bit thicker or wider, so they are just going to allow me to create lines, blocking lines, I'm going to call them, for lack of a better term, where I can paint my stripes onto the bucket and not have to worry about trying to get the tape to lay flat. So you can see I've got 4 rubber bands on here. At the base, I'm going to go ahead and paint a stripe along there. And then I've got one situated with 2 rubber bands in the middle for a center stripe. And then above my jute cord there, I have that green rubber band, and I'm going to paint a stripe up at the top. So just giving this a little bit more character, I guess. I mean, it's super cute just as the plain orange. I could have left it, but I don't know. I wanted to give it a little something more. So I went ahead and painted a couple of coats on that so that my stripes were nice and solid. And then I went about removing the rubber bands once it was dry. Now, it was almost completely dry. Apparently, I had a little bit of I'm going to say a patch there that ended up not being completely dry, and my rubber band took it off. So just to be safe, I went through and I cut the rubber bands along the seam for the other ones to remove those, just so that I would ensure I didn't end up smudging my lines. Now you can see there is a little bit of bleed along where the seam of the bucket is, but otherwise my edges were nice and straight, and I was really happy with that. So now this is just some plastic shopping bags that I have in my stash. We actually don't get plastic shopping bags in New Jersey anymore. So these are just some I had in my stash, and then some little shred that I have as well that I was going to tuck down inside of here. This ended up being a temporary thing because you'll see in a second. I grabbed my flowers that I want to use for this. Some of these are from the Hobby Lobby. Some of them are from my sweet subscriber Rose, who sent them to me a while back. And I'm trying to kind of stick them down inside of here. And that's why I was saying that this shred situation was temporary. It is going to go back in here, but for right now I'm going to take it out. I'm going to tuck in a piece of floral foam because I need something for the flowers to stick into. So I'm going to go ahead and put my shred back. You don't have to use this paper shred. If you want it to look a little bit more realistic, you could use moss. You could use I think it's called Excelsior. It looks like grass, but it's made from, I think it's almost like a really fine wood, almost like a really thin balsa wood. I'm not sure what it's made from, but those are some other options. And then I'm going to go ahead and start tucking my flowers in here. I did my tallest things first in the center. And now I'm going to use my little roses, my little orange roses in different heights, with the tallest being in the middle and then the shorter ones going out towards the edges of the bucket. So kind of creating a dome effect. And then I also have this lamb's ear that I decided I wanted to tuck in here. I have 2 picks of the lamb's ear. I did have to cut off the bottoms of the picks, but these are such that I can't really kind of break them apart. They kind of are what they are, so I tucked them in on either side. And then I decided I needed a little bit more of the yellow, so I grabbed some more pieces of that, and I just did a lot of adjusting and kind of working things around just until it was pretty to my own eye. So you can put as much or as little in your arrangement, use whatever colors you want, and just play with it until it makes you happy, really. But I want to thank you all so much for being here and for watching. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, I hope you'll consider doing that and hit the little bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. But in the meantime, leave me a comment and let me know what you think of this first project. DIY number 3. All right, this is something I've had in my stash as well. It also had a plant in it. It was a succulent that also died. I swear I have the worst luck with living plants for whatever reason. But it's a, it looks kind of like metal here maybe, but it actually is ceramic. Sorry, it took me a minute to figure out the word I wanted there. Gave it a coat of my Adirondack white chalk paint. And this is a napkin. My goodness, I am searching for my words. A napkin that I had in my stash. I had a whole pack of them and I cut it in half. This is a single ply. I already removed the other ply from it, and I'm just kind of figuring out where it's going to sit on my container. I'm going to Mod Podge this. So this is matte Mod Podge that I've pulled out of my stash. And I opted not to paint the surface with the Mod Podge first. I'm just going to come over the top of it. Now there's texture to my surface, so I figured that that would also help with camouflaging any wrinkles, because the whole thing has, you know, a texture to it. So I'm just working from one end across the way to the other end with the Mod Podge. I'm being very generous so that it saturates the napkin and it makes its way through the surface, down to the surface of the container, so that it's all nice and sealed in there. And then I'm folding the top of the napkin over the top of the container and wrapping it down around the edge. And then I took the other piece of the napkin and I'm just going to continue my way around. I didn't want it sticking to my parchment paper there, so I did raise it. As you can see, I just kind of stuck it up on top of my paint container. You know, whatever works. So I'm using that to kind of prop it up so that I can get down underneath the edges of it. And it probably would not stick to the parchment paper. That's usually why I use parchment paper. Because paint and hot glue and things like that don't stick to it, so it makes it easy for me to lift my project up, but I wanted easy access to it. And here it is once it has all of the napkin on it and the Mod Podge covering it. Once it was dry, I went ahead and grabbed a bunch of boxwood picks out of my stash. I think I probably used 4 or 5 picks here. And I'm sorry I'm kind of out of frame, but I was just kind of fluffing them up into like a little bush kind of situation. And then I grabbed my floral wire, and I am wrapping the floral wire around the bottom of the picks. This is again a very seldom, or what's the word I'm looking for? An infrequent time? I don't know. Usually I'm cutting these things apart. This is one time that I did not actually cut the picks apart. I'm putting them all together and just creating a little bush here. So I've got some more floral foam. I'm going to cut off a nice generous piece, which I'm going to drop down inside of here. Once I made sure it was fitting the way I wanted it, I got my hot glue. You can't really see the hot glue in there because it's so dark inside of there, but I put a substantial amount of hot glue in there on the low setting so it wouldn't melt the foam, and drop that in. And now this is my reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue to the top of the foam to help secure the moss. I'm not putting the hot glue in the middle because I want to be able to stick my little shrub down in through the middle, and I don't want the hot glue to be a hindrance. So just pushing that down inside of there. Then I grabbed out these cute little flowers. I've had this in my stash for a while. These are from the Hobby Lobby. And I am just cutting off the different little pieces of flower, and you can see I've already tucked some of them in here. I just wanted it to be more than just boxwood. I wanted it to be a little flowering bush, and I just thought that these were so sweet and super cute. And this makes my heart so happy, I can't even tell you. But let me know what you think of this one as well. And now it's time for a shout out timeout. Cute Kathy, this little flower truck. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for sharing. I would love to give you a shout out as well. If you have interest, just send me an email at craftedbycorie@gmail.com. DIY number 4. All right, I have these little mini wine bottles from an advent calendar my sister had given me for Christmas. And then I have my sunny porch, my pool, and my celery chalk paints. These are all Plaid products, even though one is home decor and the others are Waverly. But I went ahead and cleaned up my wine bottles. I'm using my little Dollar Tree blade to kind of scrape off the adhesive. And now I'm using a sponge, a facial makeup sponge to from the Dollar Tree again to apply my paint. One of my subscribers had recommended this for helping to apply paint to glass. I know you guys have all given me some really great options. Some people have suggested spray painting the glass with a clear coat first. Others have suggested Mod Podging it first. And then I have this method because I've always found if I try to use a paintbrush, my second coat always tends to pull up the first coat of the chalk paint. So I found that this method works really well for me. But there are a bunch of different ways that you can apply chalk paint to glass. Once it was dry, I grabbed out a bunch of baker's twine, same colors as my paint colors, but I am going to use the colors on the opposite colored bottles. Hopefully I'm making sense. So I'm using the green baker's twine on the blue. I'm going to use the yellow on the green, and then I'm going to use the blue on the yellow bottle, just wrapping it around the neck of the bottle a few times. I think it was 4 or 5 times. I honestly wasn't paying that much attention to what I was doing, and tied a little bow on the front of it. And I did that with each of those 3 bottles. And so once that was all set, here they are, all so cute. I love these little bottles. I think they're absolutely adorable. But then I grabbed these other little flowers from my stash, and I popped one of each of these little buds into the vases. But I was looking at it and I just felt like they were too plain. So I decided I wanted to do a little bit something more with the bottles. You could totally leave them like this. You could take some sandpaper to it and rough them up a little bit and make them distressed. I opted to grab out my white chalk paint again. I'm using the butt end of a paintbrush, and I am just creating little flowers. They could be daisies because you could totally put a yellow center in there. I'm going to opt to do pink in just a moment. But I just created little random flowers all around the bottles. So just dabbing little, and they're not neat at all. You know, they're very, I don't know if you'd call that abstract, but they're just, they're not like anything. Anybody could do this, right? It's just tapping little circles on. So this is my vintage Victorian chalk paint. This is also by Home Decor. And I'm just dropping a little teeny circle of pink into the middle of each of my flowers. And that's just giving them some uniformity. And then dropping my buds back in. And that is it. Well, let me know what you think of this. Okay, everybody, that's it for today. If you enjoyed the projects, please remember to give me a big thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Let me know which one was your favorite. And until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.